Hey, what's up everybody? A few days ago, I recorded a video talking about my new client process as well as my pricing methodology. I did show a little bit about my pricing calculator in that video, and several people asked me about that. Also asked why I didn't show the calculations page. So in this video, I'm going to actually walk through exactly how this calculator works. I'm going to walk through the calculations page and show what the prices are that I charge and how I use this calculator to price all of my individual 1040 tax returns. Now, I am actually going to also make this calculator available for purchase. I just figured why not? I wasn't ever thinking about doing that, but if there are people who are interested in it, why not make it available? If nobody buys it, that's completely fine with me. You can watch this video, look through the calculations page, and probably reverse engineer this just fine. But if it's helpful and people want to pay for it, I'm willing to put it out there. We're going to walk through the video, show everything, and again, you likely will be able to just create your own. So hopefully this helps. Another reason is just transparency. I think that a lot of people are increasing their transparency. I just watched a video yesterday. I know most of you have probably seen these, but I just saw it for the first time. The video where Logan Graff actually walks through his income. Now, I'm not quite ready to share that out there with the general public yet, but I will show the pricing calculator and exactly what the fees are currently and how I got to this point. So in the calculator, I created this back in 2019. I was reading a lot about value pricing. I was reading a lot about different pricing models, and I don't do a true value price where you price each customer specifically to try to figure out what it is to them. It's probably a hybrid of a forms-based, value-priced, and hourly fee. I don't charge by the hour. I give the pricing up front. I don't look at tax returns ahead of time. I basically ask the client a handful of questions. I use that to price the return. I also typically have a meeting with them, especially if they have Schedule E or Schedule C activity, and clarify a few things, but I'm trusting their answers. I have not been burned by this process. The only time I really have been was Form 3115 when I had to do a change of accounting method for rental properties on multiple clients in a row. I've since started asking about that, and nothing else has really burned me in terms of me feeling like I undercharged for a tax return. So this has been pretty sufficient. Of course, it is not going to apply to every single tax return, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit as well. But it prices all of my tax returns. And again, if you're doing far more complex things, it's probably not going to work for you, but it still may give you some ideas on how to do this. Pricing tax returns is the hardest thing. It was the biggest struggle I had when I first started. You can look for national data averages. You can try to figure out what other people are doing. Maybe if clients come into you and they will tell you what they were paying the previous person. But this is really hard, and I don't know, honestly, where I stand. I know I'm certainly not the cheapest. I definitely know I'm not the most expensive, so I think I land somewhere around average. I would honestly say I'm probably on the lower end of average, and I could probably increase my fees. But I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments, and let me know how I stack up compared to where you are, and if I should be charging more for anything in particular, because we're going to go through that calculations page and talk about what I charge and kind of how I got to that point as well. So let's jump into the calculator. If you watched that other video, which I will link down in the comments here on the YouTube video, I basically have a new client survey that they fill out where I ask them most of the questions that I want to know the answers to, and then I will copy and paste that into the pricing calculator. My new client survey dumps their answers to the questions into a Google Drive, and then I copy and paste it into this new client data tab, which then feeds this interview tab, which is what I have open during the client appointment. So you'll see that all their information comes in over here on the side. There are if statements that also, if they answer yes to a specific question, like do you have dependents, it'll put an X here, and then the X will make this a yes in the drop-down box. Why the X in the drop-down box? The reason there is because in a client appointment, clicking this drop-down box and then choosing an answer is a lot slower than just hitting the X button and typing that into the field next to it. So that was just all user experience on my own end. It goes faster to just type the X and then hit the yes. Why have the yes? I don't know. I could just have the X's. This is the way I built the worksheet. You can change it if you want to. So copy and paste, put that in here. Now, this is of course formatted for my new client survey. You could create a Google form. That's what I was using originally to ask these questions. I now use Typeform because it will give them different questions based on answers. So it's a dynamic form that only asks them things based on questions they say yes to. And that has been great. I think it's helped the user experience out for filling out that survey. I don't usually get too many complaints on it. I'm sure maybe some people start and then never finish and I lose clients that way, but people haven't ever complained about it to me once they make it into the new client appointment. So we're going to delete this right now because again, this is, you're not going to have this new client survey. You can, again, reorder this. You'd have to update all the links and everything on the interview tab, but it is possible for you to use that feature. But you can use this tool completely without that. You could basically just start on the interview tab and open this up during a new client appointment and start from there. So this is going to be John and Jane Doe. And these questions are in order of how I like to ask them. But that's basically how I got to there. We would put today's date that we're meeting with them, December 18th. We would then figure out which tax return this is for. So this is going into 2025. We would be filing the 2024 tax return. And then we're going to ask them, what's your marital status? In this particular example, they are married. So we'd say that. AGI, this doesn't factor into the calculations at all. I had it factor in at one point. I ditched that. I don't do that anymore. But it's still a good reference mark. So they say 150,000, both spouses work, no 1099s, no Social Security, no 1099-R, retirement distributions, nothing there. Do they have foreign earned income? They say they don't. Dependents, yes, we have 2 kids. We have one who's not school age, so they do go to childcare while we were both working. We have another one that is in college or not, so education expenses, that would be for college tuition. They say no. Rental property. Do you have rental property? And X means yes. And then I gauge the level of complexity for a rental property. Not the number of rental properties, but basically I ask them, do you have a property manager? Do you get a statement of income and expenses? Do you keep track of it? Is it Airbnb? Is it long-term rental? Is it an add-on or a partial of your house? Pretty much all these are going to get level 2. I mean, if they have something super basic, very minimal rent, it's already kind of set up, I might go to level 1 here. If they give me the vibe that their records aren't super clean and they've got part of a house that's rented on Airbnb and we got to worry about a bunch of prorating in order to do this, they might get a level 3. Vast majority fall into that level 2 category. They tell me if they have 1, 2, or 3, however many rental properties they have. We'll say they have 2. You can type in some notes over here as you're asking questions about those rental properties. And then, change of accounting method. So that's when I started asking, hey, look, if you have a change of accounting method, ask them about depreciation. I would type, if I find out that they need it, I'll click an X here. Usually I don't find that out though until I see the tax return. I already mentioned I don't look at the tax returns ahead of time. I do tell them though what the fee will be if I have to do that form, the typical reasons why I have to do that form, and let them know that if they want me to look at their prior year return ahead of time, I can look at it and tell them if I need to do it or not. If this is checked new client, yes, and this is checked have a rental property, yes, then on my quote to them, it's going to add in this box right here automatically. This is just an if statement. If new client with rental property, put this in there. And that's my disclaimer. I don't know if I have to do a change of accounting method, but if I do, it's going to be $375 per 3115 form that I have to complete. Now, if they are a new client and don't have rental property, or if they're a returning client, that note will disappear and it won't be there. So only if they're a new client with rental property will that show up. So we'll say yes. And then did they sell the rental property? Did they do a like-kind exchange? So again, either of those, if they say yes, it's going to end up adding fees to the tax return. Then we move on to itemized deductions. Do they itemize? If they don't know, I'll just ask them. A lot of my clients from the state of Florida, not all. I do tax returns in 30-some different states, but I just kind of tell them, hey, here's the standard deduction. Do you think your mortgage interest, charitable giving, property taxes, anything like that? And home mortgage interest, if those things are adding up to more than X, whatever the standard deduction is, they'll tell me yes or no. Sometimes they're wrong on this. Sometimes they aren't sure. So if it's kind of borderline, I'll leave it unchecked. If they say, absolutely, we'll check it. Capital gains. All right, what kind of capital gains? You have brokerage statements with consolidated Schedule D. That's what you see most of the time. So if they have a brokerage statement and they have one of them, that's what we would do there. If they have crypto, I would ask them about that, depending on the level of detail. If they have crypto, if it's in like a coin ledger or something where they can get me a printout of an 8949, I might just change this to 2. If they have a lot more detail, I might go down here. we'll get to this later, but I have just an adjustments thing. So I might throw in an extra, I don't know, $100 or something, depending on the level of complexity with the crypto. For me personally, if the crypto is kind of really extensive and they really aren't tracking it, I'm just going to pass on that client. I don't do the significant hand holding in the crypto space. Do you have a health savings account? They say yes. Do you have health insurance through the marketplace? Form 8962. That's right off the top of my head. Yes or no. Schedule C business. All right. Do you have a Schedule C business? Yes. Again, same thing with rental property. What's the complexity? Is this a 1099 with $2,000 on it and no expenses? All right. We'll go with level 1 and we'll say that there's one of those. If it's just a normal Schedule C business, we're going to go level 2. If it's a pretty extensive Schedule C business, assets to depreciate, stuff like that, we'd probably go with level 3. Do they have a home office? Do they have auto mileage? We would check X there to make those yes if they have them, and gauge the number of depreciable assets they have. I rarely get clients on Schedule C with really any depreciable assets, maybe like something here or there, but pretty minimal. Are you a partner, owner in another business? Do you have a K-1? What's your resident state? We're going to say they're in Florida. Actually, if I say California, it's going to tell me that's a community property state. If I say Texas, it's going to say that's a community property state. Well, let's say they're in Florida. Do they have to file in any other states? I moved halfway through the year. Okay, so you came from Georgia. You're now a Florida resident, but you have to file a Georgia tax return, so additional state there. And then I give discounts for pastors, clergy, and then military. So we put that there. And then that's everything. That's everything that my calculator will handle. So, we've covered a pretty significant portion of 1040 returns, Schedule E, Schedule C, W-2s, 1099s, capital gains, crypto, itemized deductions, marketplace insurance, K-1s, how many are there? Now, again, when talking through the K-1, you can kind of talk to them about, this is just going to price a simple K-1 input. But as you're talking to them about it, if that K-1 has like 8 different states that you have to do returns for, because the K-1 has activity in 8 different states, you're going to need to make an adjustment for that. Anything that's not here, you can make an adjustment for down here. So let's just say I'm talking to this client. They've got a K-1. It's got multiple states. Well, one, you could add the states here and say, okay, there's 3 different states. Or if you're talking about capital gains, I always ask them if they have a brokerage statement, are you like day trading? Like, are you trading like a normal person? Or there's a couple of trades every here and there, here and now. And then, anything you could do, okay, well, when I was asking about the capital gains, I think I should add about an extra $75 because of the complexity they have. And then you ask another question about the K-1s and you go, okay, that K-1, maybe I need to add an extra $100 there. And so you can start to make adjustments down here just based on, again, it's much easier to think through one form at a time, which is why we're going to jump to the calculations page here in a second. It's a lot easier to think through one form at a time than it is to think through an entire tax return. So really what this calculator does is it allows you to think through one form at a time, price that, and then add it all up. Again, I don't bill by the hour, so that's not what I'm looking for when I'm using this tool. Now, it's going to give you an end product. I offer my services in 3 different levels. I do highly recommend that. It gives people choice. It allows them to price anchor on a premium service. I always, when communicating this to the client, I'm sharing this with them verbally. They're not seeing this. I'm not sharing my screen with them. I will share this with them verbally. I will walk through what's included in my different levels of service. And then I will always start with the premium. The premium is going to be $2,760. Price anchors them at that higher point. Then by the time I get down to the basic tax prep, That sounds pretty cheap after you've heard that first. So, you can Google price anchoring as a psychological pricing strategy. You can also search the multiple options. So again, giving people options instead of one price helps them know that they have control. Not everybody's going to need that premium service. My premium service includes planning and a forecasting appointment during the second half of the year. It also includes year-round support. They can message or call me with any tax questions they have. And you can see what's in my different packages here. But that basic tax prep it's basic tax prep. I mean, that's almost like an H&R Block. It's not quite, because I deliver better service than that. And I'm here year round. I always tell people, if you email me in July, that's fine. I'm not going to make you bump up to the next option. But if you email me a couple of times, I'm probably going to say, hey, it's time to move into that middle option, because of that year-round support is not included in basic. It's tax prep. It's go through the tax return with you, help you understand it, and that is it. No forward-looking, no year-round support. That's my basic tax prep option. So you can see these are the prices. I would upload this as a one-page PDF to the portal. They would type in whichever level of service they want, and then they would sign it at the bottom. That's the proposal. I have a full engagement letter that I send to them as well, but this is just get a commitment from them after the appointment. These over here, I added these in this year. They're basically just some TurboTax pricing, and they were motivation, because TurboTax is increasing their pricing for full service from TurboTax. For a self-employed, it's starting at $469. Which means if you're doing a Schedule C on a 1040, you should not be charging anywhere less than $500 for that. If you're doing just a typical family return, dependents, mortgage, W-2, child tax credit, that's not even itemized or anything, you should be charging at least $350 for that. So we'll get into that right now. My firm minimum is $350, and that shows up right here on the calculations page. So if you are looking the basic return, and I added this just this year, a returning client versus a new client. I'm pretty much at capacity. I basically take new clients to replace turnover. I have a pretty consistent turnover, about 15%. I do somewhere around 350 personal returns and another 40 business returns. I'm just over or right around 400 total tax returns. I have a seasonal full-time preparer who takes the return from start to almost finish, and then I come in and review a very detailed, significant review. I might as well almost be preparing the return at that point, but I'm the one signing it. So that's just how I review returns, is I go through and check off every single number in that return. I also have another full-time year-round employee. So I have two staff who are full-time during tax season, doing the initial prep of tax returns, client communication to make sure all the data is there before it gets to me. And I do an extensive review, checking every number from source document to tax return, going over the whole tax return. And then I'm the only one currently in my firm who signs tax returns and meets with clients. So that's what I do. I'm pretty full. I'm at capacity, except again, I still am taking new clients. Basically, like I said, to replace my turnover and to grow a little bit each year. But I'm not trying to grow 15, 20% client base every year. I just don't have capacity to do that. So my new clients, I charge more. There's plenty of them coming in, and if they're willing to pay more, I'm willing to take them on. Plus, as my 15% attrition happens every year and I'm replacing those clients with new clients, it means that my average fee is going up. So even though I'm not increasing my number of clients significantly, I am increasing my fees from 10 to 12% every year so far, because I'm increasing my average fee. Now, I don't do increases significantly on current clients. Now, if they have a change, I use this calculator every year for returning clients as well. And if they have a significant change, like they add a Schedule C, of course the price is going to change. But if they have no change from year to year, they might get a $10 bump. Maybe a 2 to 3% increase in their fee. It's nothing crazy. Sometimes I leave it the same, but it's very, very minimal on my returning clients. I don't go through and bump them all up just because I have more clients now. All right, let's get back into this. So my basic minimum fee is $350. Everyone's going to be charged a minimum of $350. If that is too expensive because all you have is a W-2, go do TurboTax. I tell people that all the time. If $350 is too expensive, your return is probably cheap enough to go do a self-prep. Your return is probably simple enough to go do a self-prep option. Go do that. If they come in after March 1, and before the due date of the return. So let's do that. Let's say they come in on March 30th. So as a tax preparer, you know, if someone tries to come in on March 30th, I actually turn new client appointments off after January. So I do not take clients between February 1 and April 30th. They get an email saying that we'd love to have you as a new client. Here's your options for how to get your return extended, but we'll meet with you in May. I do not accept clients. But back when I did add a charge. So if it's after March 1 and they are a returning client, they didn't let me know they were coming back, it's going to add $50. I will take them up till whenever they return. If it's a new client and it's after March 1, it's going to charge them $125 extra simply because of the timing in which they showed up. That's completely fair. Every business does that. Even Uber does this. It's a surcharge for busy times. Now, if you go and choose May 1, May 1 is after March 1st, but it's after tax season. So after May 1, it's not gonna add this in. So again, this is if it's greater than March 1 and less than like April 30th, I think. So anything in that window is gonna add this, anything outside that window won't. The rental property, as you saw, basically this is a level 2 rental property. It adds in the fee, number of properties. So it's gonna add that in. If they have more than one property, I do discount the second and third property. I don't know why I do this. Honestly, it probably shouldn't. Probably should just be the same per rental property, but that's what I do. And you can come in and change any of these anytime you want. So if you just change any of these fees here, then you can set them to what you want them to be. But that's basically level 1, 2, and 3. If they have that and it falls in, it adds it up over here. The accounting method change, sold a property or a like-kind exchange. And so again, I'm pricing here and I go through this, right? Like, okay, what do I want my base fee to be? What do I want my surcharge to be if I take clients after March 1? For a level 1 Schedule E, I can think through, okay, Schedule E, what's involved in that? How much time is it going to take me? What do I think the value is for that? Because your fee also should not be based solely on time. The more efficient you get, you shouldn't get paid less for being more efficient. You should actually get paid more because as you become more efficient, you're becoming better at what you do because you've been doing it longer and you know more and you have more experience. So the fact that you would charge by the hour and then get paid less while becoming more efficient is completely ridiculous. So charge based on value. So I do think through like, okay, if I have a target rate of $250 per hour, you might have something like that, but you're not charging that to clients, but you still might think through that when you say, okay, what do I want to be paid for a Schedule E? And you might be willing when you're brand new to be like, I'll do a Schedule E for $100. Great. You know, if you don't have any clients, $100 more than nothing. And then as you build up, you might be like, I just really don't want to touch Schedule E for less than $300. Great. You're completely in control of what you set these fees at, but you're setting them kind of on a per form basis based on what you want to do that form for and what you think the value of that form is. And then again, with the rental and the Schedule C, they vary greatly. And so you can rank those level 1, 2, or 3. If they have extra W-2s, so if they're married and they have more than 3, that's going to charge right now 0 extra, but you could put something in there. If they're married or single, you know, if they have extra, and again, you can set what you want the extra to be in the formula here. If they have more than 2 for married or more than 1 for single, you know, it's going to charge an extra $15. I mean, 1099-R doesn't take long, but if you get 10 of these and you don't charge something extra for them, then it can really take a significant amount of time and you should be charging more for that. So it's not necessarily like, oh, one extra one, $15. It's more to protect against someone who has 5 W-2s and 10 1099s, R, retirement statements. So that's what that's for. Foreign earned income, what are you willing to do that for? Education credits. I mean, all this is the same, right? Schedule A, what are you going to charge for that? So again, I'm going through here. You can pause the video. You can see exactly what I'm charging for these particular schedules. Some of these aren't in use anymore, like a clergy Schedule E. Basically, I just kind of price that in now. It's included. I mean, it's a W-2, yeah, with a Schedule E. I'm not worried about that. A Schedule D with number of brokerage accounts greater than 1. So Schedule D, $65. You have more than one brokerage, it's going to charge $30 per statement that I have to enter in. Maybe that should be more. I mean, if you want to talk about something that could be super simple or fairly complex, Schedule D brokerage statement. Most of them are pretty simple though. I mean, I'm not too worried about that from what I get. Again, I haven't been burned by this too much. You get RSUs, you got to do a little bit of extra things for that. But again, I mean, the value there, the complexity there is there because a lot of clients get that, or sorry, a lot of tax preparers who aren't familiar with RSUs or stock options get that wrong and miss it and cost the client a lot of extra money. So perhaps the value should go up there. Maybe I should start asking if they have RSUs and adding in an extra $100 or so for that by itself. In fact, thinking maybe I will do that. Number of K1s, just per K1, $35. Again, that's for a basic K1. If I think that the K1, or if I'm surface something in my interview that K1 is going to be more complex with multiple states, I'm going to make an adjustment for that. No state return like the state of Florida, it's going to subtract $25. If they have extra states, it's going to add $75. Again, should that fee be higher? Possibly. Most state returns are pretty straightforward, but again, maybe. If it flags it as a difficult state charge, and I've got a list of difficult states somewhere, and it'll charge an extra $75. So if they have, if they have like a state, it's not going to subtract the 25 because they have a state tax return, but it's going to actually add an extra $75 if it's one that I deem a community property state. Well, I don't deem it that. But if it's one that I think is difficult, which I have set in the formula here. Oh, if it's Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, I got a couple up here that just ones that I really don't like doing that much, I'm going to charge extra for them. Some states I actually say no to as well. Pennsylvania is one of them. Ohio is one of them. I hate the local tax return piece. Dependents, I don't charge anything if they have dependents. I do charge if they have dependent care credits. The HSA, if they have that, if they have the health insurance exchange, I charge for that form. That number should probably be higher. Here's the Schedule C numbers for what I charge for level 1, 2, or 3. Additional Schedule Cs. Now again, if they have like a regular Schedule C and I rank that number level 2, and then I say, oh, they also have one more Schedule C, it's going to throw in an extra $175 or $200. But if that second Schedule C is just a 1099 with $2,000 on it, then I can also put in a negative amount here to adjust the total price down. So you can adjust pricing up or down right there on the fly in an appointment with somebody. And then the assets, how many they have on Schedule C, if they have a home office or auto worksheet. Again, auto worksheet probably should be more than $25 because of all the mess you got to jump through to get stuff from them for that. All right, so that adds up everything. Basically, that prices a base return for me. Now, I used to have the middle option, my essential and my premium option, be the base times 30% more and then times 50% more. But now I just add in a flat fee. So my middle option right now is the base price, which I'm pricing based on this calculator. I price the base return. And then the middle option is the base return plus $400. So if you want to be able to send me messages or to ask me questions throughout the year, these are pretty simple questions, things that I can look up or I know off the fly. It is not, hey, if I've got 5 changes next year, what am I going to owe? That's in a planning and forecasting appointment. But this is an extra $400 to basically be on call throughout the year for general questions. And then my premium, I take the middle and I add an extra $900 to that. So essentially to do a planning and a forecasting appointment, you're going to pay an extra $900 to do that appointment. Typically, I have them fill out a client survey. They questionnaire for that planning appointment. They upload documents. I spend probably 20 to 30 minutes preparing for that appointment and an hour in that appointment. And I get $900 for that. That value certainly is more than what a typical hourly rate would be. In fact, the value probably should be more. I would say a lot of you out there are probably charging more than $900 for something like that. I've been content with my revenue. I'm fine with the services I've delivered. I've been increasing prices steadily as I've added clients and as I have had more clients than I need. And so I am still trying to grow revenue. I could increase these fees again. And I think that I would take on a little bit less clients, but my revenue would still go up because of the increased fees. This does the discounts for military and clergy, 10% discount if you're one or the other. These referrals, extension, 100% paid, these are all things that I used to use that I don't anymore. I also used to have options that people could add on. And there was a section down here where it was like, do you want to add on monitoring of your IRS account? I use tax help software, get an 8821 on them. It'll import transcripts and I could monitor that. I used to have that as an add-on. I had a personal finance budget appointment as an add-on. They could either remove it from other, this was different levels of service too. So I've simplified all of that, simplified my levels of service, don't do the add-ons anymore. So I just haven't deleted them from the calculator. They're still here. Again, a 3-year look back, personal finance meeting, account monitoring. These were what I used to have as add-ons. These do not do anything right now. I don't use them anymore. I just never deleted them out. Don't need to. It's not affecting anything. And then this is where that adjustment comes in. And then the total. And again, deposit, balance, monthly figure. I used to use those. I don't use those anymore. Basically, the total at the bottom gets thrown into these categories. And that's what I do. That's the pricing. Also, when I get through talking to a client, if I fill out the questionnaire and I go over to the service option, I just kind of gut check these too. So, I mean, if something pops up here and I'm like, man, that just feels a little bit expensive for what they have, because maybe they have a lot of different forms, but they're all pretty straightforward. And I get in that sense from talking to them. You know, again, I might come in here and just say, okay, I'm going to knock $150 off of that. Okay, that's $1,260. Now, I'm not telling them that I'm doing that. I'm just adjusting that on the fly. Again, if I hop over here and it's like I'm talking to them, I'm like, oh, that just doesn't feel like enough. I might add $150. And what that's going to do is it's just going to add 150 to the base. And then remember, this is just base plus 400 and this is middle plus 900. And, you know, so I'm just kind of gauging, do I want to do this work for that fee? What's the value to them? And at the end of the day, are we on the same page? Doesn't matter. I mean, if I throw something out there that's super high and they say no, they move on to someone else. If I do something super low and you think I'm not charging enough, but I'm willing to do it for that price, what's it to you, right? I mean, this pricing, yeah, you know, you don't want to be crazy high or crazy low, but it really is. It's what are you willing to work for, and what are the clients willing to pay you to do the work? And as long as you guys are agreed on what that value is in that appointment and when you do the work, that's all pricing is. This calculator helps you do that consistently. Now, I don't want a client to come in and I'm doing this return for 400 and another return exactly like it for double the price. I mean, again, if you're doing true value-based pricing, what is it, Mark Wickersham? He I think does true value-based pricing, and he actually has a calculator to do that. It's actually a software that is pretty advanced. I actually looked at it, thought about using it, but I really didn't need it. It was too much for what I wanted, and I didn't want to take the time to value price a return. It takes a lot of time. I like this method. It works for me. Maybe it doesn't for you. Again, comment, tell me what you think, what you like, what you're doing. But that's there. There's a little summary down here. I think that's everything in the calculator. Like I said, I'm going to post a link in the comments. I am going to put this up for sale. So if you want it, if it'll help you out, use it. Again, it helps you put things together. It helps you think through pricing of the forms instead of the whole tax return. And it helps you price consistently from client to client with the ability to adjust return pricing on the fly. This adjustments, I did not have that in there for at least half, maybe my whole first tax season. I think maybe it was half, because it didn't take me long to realize that I needed it. Did not take me long to realize that you needed to be able to adjust something on the fly based on the person you're talking to and what their situation is and how you think they might be as a client. Some clients demand more than others, and you can a lot of times tell that in the appointment what kind of client they're going to be, if they're going to be a very high need, high touch client or not. And that should deserve higher fees if they are a high touch client. So again, that is the calculator. I hope that this is encouraging. I hope it helps. Hope it maybe helps price anchor. some of you where we can get fees up. I mean, I think that there, are people charging too little. Maybe you're watching this video, you think I'm one of those. Put that in the comments too. I don't want to be dragging down the average fee here for tax prep, because this stuff's complicated and there's a lot of work and the laws are changing constantly. This is a high stress job and we should be compensated for that. And so, let's make sure that our fees are good and healthy for the work that we're doing and the complexity that we're handling and the stress that we're relieving from our clients. Again, everyone has the option to say no. So, if they don't like your pricing, that's fine. They have the ability to say no to your pricing and to try to find someone else. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful, and leave me any feedback in the comments.